Hi, Hannah.
Hey, hey everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. So let's see. Good morning, everyone. So as you guys are checking in, be sure that you guys check in. So today's check-in question will just be your pronouns and what is your mood for today in one word. So check in, pronouns, name, and what is your mood? How are you guys feeling today? What's your mood in one word? Perfect. Okay, so I'm seeing energized, content, tired. Okay, awesome. Tired. You know what it is? I think it's probably, you guys are probably tired because today was kind of gloomy, and that tends to happen when it's a little gloomy out. But I'm loving the weather today. Optimistic, yes, that's good. Sleepy, tired. Okay, perfect. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Let's see. Okay, and cool. All right. Let's see, how many people do we have in already? So the
26.
26. All right, so I'll give like 1 or 2 more minutes to see if anybody else will tune in. But yeah, check-in question, pronouns, and what is your mood in one word? Okay, let's see. Perfect. Tired, happy, good. Okay, chill. Tired, I know. A lot of you guys are tired today, but it's all good. We're gonna get through the day today. Okay, let's see. Cool. All right, so for those who are just checking in or tuning in, make sure you check in by your name, pronouns, and mood in one word. And then today we're going to be talking about recognizing unhealthy relationships. So let's see. Today's topic is unhealthy relationships. Chill, all right. Tired. All right. So let's see. We'll wait like 1 or 2 more minutes and then we can get started. But like I said, for those who are just tuning in, check in with your pronouns, name, and what is your mood? What is your mood? Cool. Let's see. So we'll be starting shortly. Today's topic again on recognizing unhealthy relationships. How many do we have already, Hannah?
We have 36. I'm also going to throw in the attendance sheet, y'all. So I'm just creating the link. So again, can you explain the attendance, Karen, just real quick?
Sure. So yeah, right now Hannah's going to put in the link and for you guys. So are you guys as you guys are checking in, just follow the link and fill out your name, zip code, and age. There we go. So the link is there for you guys. Don't forget, if anybody is checking in late, just make sure you go follow the link and so that we can track your attendance really quick. Okay. There we go. And then with that one, you shouldn't have any problems. We were able to access it just fine yesterday. But if you guys do encounter any problems, just let us know in the chat. Let's see. And then for those who are just tuning in, we're checking in with our pronouns and what is your mood for today. Just remember to also check in with your attendance and follow the link that Hannah just provided you guys. Okay. If you guys do have any problems, just let us know in the chat. Cool, cool. So happy, tired, mood. Okay. So I'll share mine. My mood for today is actually happy. Like I mentioned, I know that I mentioned that I love gloomy days. So for me, having this gloomy day is like amazing for me. So let's see. All right. Perfect. Bianca, feeling happy. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, perfect. So yeah, today we're talking about unhealthy relationships for those who are checking in. Hannah will be constantly uploading the link to the, she will be uploading the link for you guys to track your attendance. Yes, me too. They are really relaxing. Gloomy days. I love gloomy days. Okay. So we will wait for one more minute to see who will check in. And once that happens, we can get started. And as I do have the hotline numbers here, if you guys want to take a picture or a screenshot. Yeah, who else? Who else likes gloomy days? I see. Gloomy days are the best. When it's raining, yes. Especially when it rains. I love it when I'm just laying down in my blanket, so warm. Okay, so let's see. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let's see. Then don't forget to use the link that Hannah sent so that you guys can check in. So you guys can track your attendance, sorry. All right, all right, all right. Let's see. Okay, how many do we have now, Hannah? Usually we have like around 30 to 40, right?
Yeah, you're at 39, so I think you can get started.
Okay, perfect. So good morning, everyone. As you guys may know, I'm Karen. I am the violence prevention educator, the prevention team at Peace Over Violence. I have talked to you, some of you, so some of you might know me. And for those that don't, I'm Karen. Good morning. It's really nice to connect with you guys. And today's topic is recognizing unhealthy relationships. So before we get started, I'm gonna just give you guys a little reminder about that we are mandated reporters. So we do come to if it does come to our knowledge that we know of someone getting hurt, you're being hurt, or you're about to hurt someone, we do have to report it to our supervisors. So I just want to throw that in there before I begin. And then I do have the hotline numbers on there if you guys do want to have access to that. Okay, so perfect. So let's see. So recognizing unhealthy relationships. As we know, we've been talking about power and control, the cycle of violence, roots of violence, media and violence. So we're gonna go ahead and see how all of these are connected and how they how they connect to how we have our intimate relationships. And today we are going to be focusing on unhealthy relationships with intimate partners. So the first question for you guys is, what is abuse? So if you guys can just type in your answer, like brief, maybe 1 or 2 words of what you guys think it's abuse, and then I will give you guys the actual definition that peace or violence has. Okay. So abuse, abnormal use of power, manipulation, yes, taking over, harm mentally, physically, and emotionally. Yeah, perfect. So we are going to be discussing not only the definition, but we are going to be talking about also the types of abuse. So just throwing that out there. Gaslighting, yes. Involves any types of violence. Perfect. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Okay. So let me go ahead and do the definition here. So when we're talking about abuse, we like to think about the abnormal and imbalanced use of power and control. So like as you guys, some of you guys mentioned that I'm seeing here, you guys mentioned imbalance and non-normal power and control. So the abnormal, we like to break it down in like the two sides, the abnormal side and the imbalanced use of power and control. So basically, it has to be repetitive. That imbalance of power and control has to be repetitive. So how does this abnormal and imbalance of power and control play in an unhealthy relationship? We're gonna go ahead and be discussing that more in depth. So yeah. So yeah, the definition that you guys, most of you guys, the things that you guys said was right on there. So okay, perfect. Now, before we get started, the types of abuse. So what are some types of abuse? Now that we kind of already went a little bit into the definition of abuse, what are some types of abuse? So you guys can go ahead and type it in your, okay, mental, verbal, yes, physical, child sexual abuse, physical, yelling, yes, yes, yes. So when we want to think about, when we start thinking about abuse and the types, we want to kind of relate back to what you guys already discussed, which is, power and control, which is having, the ability or the authority to change or influence, in this case, how it influence the relationships that we have with our intimate partner. So emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so just making sure that let's see. Okay, yes, yes. Okay. Now the decisions, that we might see, right now that we dive in into the types of abuse. So yes, so most of the ones that you guys have said. Sorry, let me see. So emotional, mental, physical, sexual, verbal, cyber, and financial. Okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about each one, in order for us to get a little bit more of understanding, like what each entails. So let's see. So let's start off with emotional or mental abuse. What what is a form of mental or emotional abuse? These two. Okay, gaslighting, putting you down, yes. Uh, Yelling, okay. Yelling, I feel goes more into the verbal, but of course, whatever is said when someone is yelling, that does connect to emotional abuse. Self-harm, yes. Manipulation is a very big one. Um, Usually, I know that somebody mentioned gaslighting. So, making you believe that some things that you're accusing them of them doing is not there. Taking advantage, yes, that's another one. um Another one that I want to point out with emotional and mental abuse is playing with someone's feelings. So it could be from, having that intent to play with someone's feelings already, like at the beginning, to set their to set that imbalance, to set that imbalance of power and control. So it says, can blaming your mental illness be a type of abuse just so they can stay? Yeah, so definitely that's a really good question. Mental illness, it's something that it's really sometimes stigmatized and that people might use, especially the abuser might use that your people's mental illness to add to their advantage, to use their power and control over in the relationship. So definitely blaming and mental illness, it would be part of that. Making someone feel shameful, degrading of their self-worth, yes, those are all part of the emotional and mental abuse. Okay, perfect. So now let me go ahead and let's talk about physical abuse. What does physical abuse consist of? In other, beating, yes. So basically, physical abuse is anything that is violence towards the body. It could be hitting, beating, spanking. It could be pushing. And then I want to bring punching, human trafficking. Yes, of course. Another one that I want to bring up with physical abuse is it's not necessarily physical, which we're going to be talking about warning signs later on in the presentation. But one of the ones that I want to bring up with physical abuse is, maybe throwing objects. Uh they're not necessarily like throwing the object at you, but it's kind of like a sign of them, like of the abuser potentially like saying, using that sign of intimidation of throwing objects, so that later on it can turn into that physical abuse. And then yes, choking is a very good example of physical abuse. So yes, perfect. Okay, so as you guys may know, you guys are going to be talking about more in depth about sexual abuse. So now let's go ahead and do sexual abuse. So what are some types of sexual abuse? So sexual abuse. Okay, so in the last lesson, Hannah had mentioned how sometimes just everyone punches things. Okay, so that is not necessarily like physical abuse, but I did want to point it out because it can lead to physical abuse. So someone showing, kind of to intimidate the other person, to intimidate and be like, okay, well, I'm throwing this, I'm getting mad, I'm showing all these kinds of anger emotions, but if I'm throwing this, but the next time it can be maybe you. So it's not necessarily throwing objects is not necessarily a physical form of physical abuse, but it can lead. Okay, and then so sexual abuse. Let me see. So sexual abuse is verbal sexual harassment, unwanted nudes. Yes, yes, and the unwanted nude actually kind of ties back to cyber and digital type of abuse. So that one, when you're receiving any pornographic or any unwanted news to, like, let's say your phone or on social media, let's say when somebody sends a dick pic or a picture exposing themselves, then that would be part of cyber and digital abuse. Unwanted masturbation, yes, yes, yes. So with sexual abuse, there's actually 3 types of sexual abuse, and I'm seeing that a lot of you guys have already mentioned it. One is verbal, another one is sorry, let me see. Oh, I got a brain fart. So sorry. So verbal, visual, and yes, visual does kind of connect with cyber and sexual abuse. How you guys said uh, the unwanted sexual actions, perfect. Sexualizing something, yes. Touching without consent, yes. Consent is a very big one when it comes to sexual abuse, which you guys are going to be discussing more in depth with when you guys have the sexual violence presentation. But consent is a very, very, very big one when it comes to sexual abuse. So yes, unwanted, yes, perfect. um so okay, so let's go ahead and do verbal abuse now. So what are some types of verbal abuse? Catcalling, yes, catcalling can definitely fall into sexual and verbal abuse. So as you guys can see, some of the types of abuse do kind of connect with one another. So having mad issues, okay. Yeah, so verbal abuse can be, someone said, I remember in the I saw maybe degrading or using curse words towards one another. That could be an example of verbal abuse. Using your voice to put someone else down. So yes, definitely degrading someone is definitely a great example of verbal abuse. So basically any violence that uses language. So it could be name calling, yes. Criticism, degradation, manipulation, yes, yes, yes. All of those are correct. It could be also the way you say something. So, like for instance, yes, I mentioned cursing to each other. So the way, maybe it could be like the way you say something. Sometimes people have or especially abusers have a tendency to use a different tone when they're talking about when they're trying to verbally abuse someone. So sometimes they could be sarcastic. Sometimes it can be gaslighting could be another one. And then it says emotional form of verbal abuse. You know what? Yeah, in a way they kind of do. Like I said, all of these types of abuse do kind of connect with one another. So emotional and mental, it can be only because, let's say that example that uh, someone brought up about using their mental illness as a as a way of getting their power and control over the relationship. So constantly hearing like, oh, you can't do this because of your mental illness, or you can't do that because that degrading, it does transform into some sort of verbal abuse. So definitely that. Calling out names. It can also be body shaming. It can also be verbal abuse can also be body shaming, pointing out any insecurities that you might have with your body that can also be, to use as a sort of, to maintain. Like I mentioned, everything relates back, everything, all of this abuse that we're talking about, it does relate back to how that abnormal use, or that overuse, repetitive power and control. So definitely calling out names. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. And then cyber, we kind of did talk about that a little bit more, but if you guys have um, any other examples, feel free to throw them in the chat. As you guys may know, social media, you guys already had your presentation about social media, or media in general. Um, so what are some types of cyber or digital abuse? So one of you guys mentioned unwanted nudes, or unwanted uh, demonstration of masturbation. Yes, sending people's nudes. Yes, yes. Another one that I do want to point out, let's say you decide, or someone in the relationship decides to send, obviously, a nude to a partner. um Yes, so digital blackmailing, this is exactly what I was talking about right now. So digital blackmailing would be, let's say, if someone decides to send a nude to someone, and then maybe using that nude to potentially blackmail. Oh, if you don't do this, I'm gonna release your nudes. Or actually releasing the nudes in order for them to, because there has been revenge porn. Yes, this is exactly what it is. So that's where revenge porn, negative comments. Yes, that's definitely. So we can dive in a little bit into like cyberbullying. Mm-hmm. Control with who you can be friends with. Yes, yeah, definitely. So the control over who you can be friends with, talk when we're, talking about digital or cyber abuse, maybe deciding who you can be friends with on social media or not, could be another one. And then would that be considered extortion? Yeah, of course, yeah, because they are using something that is very intimate, of yourself, in order for them to get their way in the relationship. So having trust issues, um, definitely, we do, unfortunately, with social media, there are very high um, misunderstandings when it comes to like having trust. A lot of people like to monitor each other's Instagram or Facebook page or Snapchat, and once they start to do that, we start to realize, the imbalance of power and control in there. So getting mad, getting mad, not allowing you to post certain things on your Instagram page would also be another one of cyber slash digital abuse. Doxing someone is a form. Yes, definitely a money. And then wanting to control where they go. Yes, yes. Um, Location tracking. Yes, that's a very big one. That is a very big one. So good. Thank you for bringing it up, Daniela. So with that one, uh, you know, now with the advances of technology and everything, it's very easy for people to track where you are, especially like on social media apps like Snapchat. So Snapchat, you know how you guys can share your location and all that. So that would be like the perfect way of someone to cyber or digitally abuse. It can also lead into stalking. So definitely the location tracking, checking up where you are, that stalking behavior. Hacking is another one. Yes, invasion of privacy, like asking. Yes. So asking go through your phone, right? So that one is definitely another big one for cyber and digital abuse. Like I said, it's very, very prevalent. Now everybody's on social media, everybody has more access to it, and along with that, we do tend to have these uh, um, abnormal patterns of like trying to check their, yes, making sure. Yeah. And one thing that I do want to point out when it comes, that you guys, right now that you guys are bringing up the going through your phone or sharing their password, one thing that I do want to point out is that I want when we talk about recognizing an unhealthy relationship, we want to kind of make the understanding that sometimes people lose that power and control over themselves, so they kind of lose themselves. So a reminder of having a healthy relationship would be, you guys have your own autonomy, you guys have the right to be your own self. There's no necessary there it is not necessarily it's not necessary for your partner to share their passwords or to even let them go through your phone. If that trust is there enough, then that should be fine. But you never know, it happens. As long as it's not used, as long sometimes it may happen, where, like, let's say for instance, I know that my sister and her boyfriend share the same password, but it's not like to check up on each other. It's not like to be like, okay, well, let me see, let me check what she's been doing. It's just normal. I guess they just have that trust, that they're able to share those passwords with one another. So I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong to kind of, let them go through your phone or through changes their password. But as long as you guys are aware that they're not using it either to control you or to have power over you, then that should be fine. So let's always just keep that in mind. Okay. And then the last type of abuse is financial abuse. So can anyone name any examples of financial abuse? Okay. So now this is a very big one, because this is the number one reason why uh, victims can leave the relationship, because it ultimately ties back. We do live in a capitalist society, so when people don't have money, they have lack of resources, they're not able to move out. Or if they have children, they have families, they don't know, if they don't have money, it's very, very impossible for them to actually move out of the relationship. The person in power is the one taking your money. Usually that's how it is. Yeah, usually that's how it is. So like, it even depends too. So like, let's say they allow you to have a job, but once they get paid, like, they ask you to give all their money. So having control over you, taking control over your tax. Yes, yes, yes. So it's basically, so financial abuse is basically not allowing you to have your own um access to your money, in order to control you or in order to keep you. Okay, so not allowing, yes, yes, not letting you have your money. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so let's see. So any other examples of how abuse because they don't have, unfortunately, they don't have maybe the means or the money to move out. um Being the one with no money in the relationship, so your partner feels like they can control and bring the money to the table. So yeah. And then again, later on, we're going to be talking about gender roles. We're going to be talking about how gender roles influence how we interact in our relationships. So right now that you brought that up, where one brings the money, maybe we're probably thinking this in a patriarchal perspective, right? Where, like, the man is supposed to be the one bringing the money home, and therefore he has full control over the relationship, for instance, right? But it can also go how Emily said, vice versa. Okay. All right. Perfect. 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 All right. So now that we know the types of abuse, now that we kind of have an idea of what abuse is, what is an abusive relationship? What is an abusive relationship? Again, it kind of ties back. So it's basically what we had talked about. It is a no trust. Yes, yes, yes. So it's a relationship where one person uses threats, mental, physical, sexual abuse to maintain power and control over their partner. So yeah, definitely. So all of and it can be in all of the types of abuse can be happening at the same time. Can be happening at the same time in order for the um for the abuser to maintain that abusive relationship. Not respecting what you say. So yes, like again, I tie it back to our autonomy, not allowing you to have your own autonomy, not allowing you to have your own independence. Yes, that's perfect. One having control. Yes, yes. So all of the types of abuse that we discussed, all of the examples that we discussed is a way of having control over the other person. Could it be both people in that relationship? Definitely, definitely. It can definitely be both people in the relationship. It's not as often. Usually one person is the one that maintains that power and control over another one, but it could be, like how you guys talked about the cycle of violence. You know, I think women can just be as controlling as men. Yeah, definitely. It can happen both ways. Men and women, regardless of gender, um, can become abusers. The only thought that we have to maintain in our head, is having that power and control over their partner. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. So let's see. So now that we kind of having a little bit of understanding of what abuse is, the types of abuse, and what is an abusive relationship, which is basically it can be all connecting together to just maintain that power and control over your partner. Now let's go ahead and take a look at gender roles and stereotypes. So let's see. Yes, perfect. Okay, so let's see. So use one word to describe how men or women should be. What are some of society's expectations for men and women? So in terms of how are they supposed to act, feel, or do. So let's go ahead and focus on you, and you guys can say, let's not focus on one actually. Let's do men and women. Yes. So women should be the followers, masculine for men, emotionless for men, right? Respectful for, so when you're adding on your chat, make sure you put yes, men leaders or women. Perfect. Men unemotional, women sensitive and emotional, women weak, yes, women maternal, submissive. Perfect, 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 perfect. So, we grow up in a society where we're kind of socialized to take a role as either a man or a woman, and sometimes those can lead to having an unhealthy relationship that can ultimately lead into having an abusive relationship. So let's see, how men are supposed to be the head of the house. Yes, or dominant. Women are more understandable. They're the helpers. Yes, 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 yes. Perfect. Yeah. So all of these examples that you guys are mentioning are great. So yeah, unfortunately, some of the beliefs may derive, from the way we're socialized, like from our upbringing, from our culture. So sometimes, like I said, it can lead to an unhealthy relationship and sometimes to an abusive relationship. So women's, yeah, perfect. Yes. Let me see how I'm doing on time here. Perfect. Almost there, you guys. Okay, so let me know if I'm going too fast or if you guys have any other questions before I move on, okay? Sorry. Perfect. Let's see. Okay. So now that we mentioned these social expectations from women and men, what happens if they do not follow these expectations? What are some words that can describe that? Use one or two words. So like do the same thing. So like for men and then write the word. Or if it's women, then write the word. So pussy for men, right? So if a man is not, if a guy is not, let's say, um, they're shamed, judgeable, they're weak, men are weak. So yes. So if a man is not dominant, so if a man shows some type of emotion, then that's when we start calling him him a pussy. Or yes, women, if women don't fall into that submissive role, you start calling them bitch. Yes. All of these negative words. Yes. Embarrassed men. So perfect. Men are afraid, and then from that afraid, it leads on to those negative words that we use towards them. So like for instance, what happens? Let me give you an example. What happens if a guy cries or shows emotion? How is he perceived? As sensitive, and then sensitive could be in a negative way, not necessarily in a good way. So weak, perfect. Soft. So you see all of, somebody mentioned not as strong. Yes, yeah. Simp, yeah, perfect. So as you guys may know, so if people don't, based on their gender, if they don't follow these particular social expectations, then what do? We get all of these negative feedback from other people, that which can ultimately lead to what? It can ultimately lead to having issues, and use these beliefs sometimes to influence on how we behave in a relationship. So definitely it can lead to an abusive, or it can lead to an unhealthy relationship, even violence. Yes. Perfect. All right. And okay. Yeah, so yeah, perfect. Somebody, Ariana, you already were ahead, girl, good. So how might these gender stereotypes contribute to violence that happen in a relationship? So how might they influence? And then another thought, how do these influence the LGBT community and relationships? How do they influence? Do they take let's take for instance a gay or a lesbian couple. Do they also take part in those gender roles? What do you guys think? Okay. Yes, Christine. Yes. That's exactly what I was looking for. So yeah, they definitely people want to know who's the guy or who's the girl, and then not only identify who's the guy and the girl in the relationship, but also not only identifying that, but also taking those gender roles as well within that relationship, which can later on lead to the abuse. They will use their abuse and power. Sorry. Let me go back because I didn't read that one. Okay, so we use abuse and power role that society gives them. Yes, not having the trust, who is lying, what gender is. Yes, men are given reason to use their voice and physical strength to abuse women. Yes, Daniela. Yes, this is where, where we make the connections, where these gender roles and stereotypes can lead to violence in a relationship, right? Perfect. And then if a man feels weak in the relationship, then he might try to prove his masculinity by being aggressive, which can lead to violence. Yes, Bryn. LGBT community judge potentially harm because they don't follow the norms in society. That is a very big one, Amy. Um, uh, yeah, and this is one of the main reasons why the LGBT community experiences more violence as, let's say, like a regular heterosexual couple, because they're not following society's norms. Perfect, yes. So people feel that in the LGBT relationship, somebody has to take the masculine role and the other one the feminine. Yes, yes. And like I mentioned earlier, even in a lesbian or gay relationship, we see that sometimes they engage in abusive or unhealthy behaviors in the relationship because they fall into these gender roles. So once they take that, oh, okay, so I'm gonna be the man in the relationship, they start taking up these beliefs, these stereotypes, which we talked about earlier, where they have to be aggressive, which they have to, be the breadwinner, which they have to be the one emotionless, not sensitive, so definitely the LGBT community can totally adapt these beliefs, and they can apply it to their relationship as well. Okay, women will think that they have to let the men control over them. Yes, definitely. There is a problem in the relationship who is respectful, and there is a problem in the relationship who are respectful or supporting of one another. Okay, yeah. So, any other questions before I move on? Feel free to add them in the chat. So yes, almost done here. All right. So now I do kind of want to touch base on this only because I wanted to add some memes so that you guys can analyze since you guys did go over media and social, or like media consumption and violence, how it kind of relates to violence. So now I don't know if you guys are aware, but this whole Will Smith and Jada situation, as you guys can see, it says Will Smith did this and still got cheated on. Focus on yourself, boys. So what is that implying? Here we have, by the looks of it, two adult human beings being in a marriage that decided to kind of take time as opposed to, let's say, cheating. And you never know, that might work out for some people. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's okay for people to take breaks and then go out and see other people. It depends. It's very different for other people, right? But yes. So here are these two adult human beings in a marriage. There's somebody, they decide to take a break because maybe they don't believe in cheating, and maybe within that break one of them decides to see other people, right? Yes, it definitely generalizes women because so when we're talking about, let's focus on how we were talking about with our gender roles, right? So here it is, Will Smith is getting all this backlash because he allowed Jada to cheat on him. So he's not demonstrating those gender stereotypes, like for him being the controlling or being the dominant one in the relationship, or the one allowing her to do herself. So we can kind of see, and this is definitely impacted on how everybody views him. And usually sometimes Sometimes people look up, let's say, to celebrities. It's easy for people to fall into, you know, the what's viewed on social media, as you guys discussed with Jocelyn this week. So we see these two guys, you know, the guy Will Smith, getting backlash for not being the man or the controlling man that he's supposed to be. And then here we have Jada, which they were totally on a break, I believe. They were on a break. So do you guys think it's okay for everybody, or for both parties in the relationship, to do their own thing if they're separated? She didn't cheat. People are so weird. I think Jenna is well when other people. But if offset people wouldn't say anything about parent relationship from what people also Gina, and they attacked Cardi for leaving for a while. Yes, yes. So we see that, right? And then her, you know, she's getting all this backlash saying like, oh, well, she's a cheater. And then we already start to kind of like associate that label cheater as a negative. So what is that entitled? And then the other ones, as you guys can see, look at the other memes. Actually, these were some posts that I saw. Dear future gay bae, you get entangled, you get strangled. I'm about to play that shit. So, you know, we start to see how that word, how she didn't want to necessarily use a relationship because she didn't necessarily have like a full committed relationship with August. So she wanted to call it an entanglement. And then from there, oh my god, this whole backlash started where like, oh, using that entanglement. So what does that imply? It says, dear future, no, I ain't gonna keep up with that shit. So it's definitely throwing out the message that no matter if you guys have the opportunity to, let's say, take a break off of yourself, you guys can go out and do your own thing, especially when it comes to women, right? Because how are women supposed to be submissive? They're supposed to be loyal, right? In which in this case she was, because she did not cheat while she was on the relationship. She took the opportunity to stop the relationship and maybe pursue others while they were not together. And then the other one, it says, entanglement, bitch, I'll tangle the fucking cord around your neck. So do you guys see how this, as simple as that, can lead to violence? How people are using their beliefs based on gender stereotypes and gender roles to kind of like use violence against women. So sorry, let me go ahead and see you guys' comments. Let me see. So I think it's fun if we discuss people's relationship. So yeah, the important thing here is having that communication with your partner if you guys do decide to maybe arrange some kind of thing, because it is relationships, marriage, they're hard. Sometimes we do kind of tend to bring on our own our own insecurities, our own unhealthy behaviors or beliefs into the relationship, but the main key here is to try to like kind of work through them. Okay. And then let's see, if we're on a break, it's not cheating. And then again, it depends. Like I said, if they were on a break, it's not cheating, okay. But it depends, like if you do come to an agreement and that's why I'm telling you, it's very important for people who are in a relationship to have that conversation. And as uncomfortable as it can be, for you guys to be more open and honest to what it is, even if it means like saying, okay, so we're gonna be on a break, so that means that maybe we can both do our own thing and maybe see some other people. So coming to an agreement and establishing maybe what can happen so that they can avoid future problems when it comes to the relationship. Okay. Personally, I think it's wrong, but everyone in a relationship is different. Yes. So I'm just using this one as an example only because we were talking about gender roles, and I wanted you guys to see the difference between the backlash that Will was receiving, being a man, and the backlash that Jada was receiving being a woman. Um, Okay, and then I also wanted to connect it to how it can lead to future actual like an abusive relationship, which using in this case how we see in the memes or in the post, um, actual physical violence towards one another. Okay. Uh, was a family friend, so was morally wrong. Yeah, so it can be. I don't want to focus too much on how it happened or gossip. I'm telling you, the main point of this exercise is for for you guys to kind of see the two perspectives when it comes to being a man and a woman. But yeah, you never know. Yeah, it could have been morally wrong. I'm not entirely sure what went down right there, but I just wanted to show you guys, since we're talking about gender roles, how each of them, um, the reactions that they got from society, being a man and a woman. Okay. Uh, so yes, and then we come the whole calling, people starting saying that she was a hoe for cheating and all that, so this is when we start, thinking back again. Yes, gender roles. That is her business, her husband, nothing to do, inappropriate thing, situation. That Jada had a romantic with a younger man. Who? So yeah, I don't want to switch the focus here. I just wanted to show this example because, again, um, we only have certain knowledge of what really went down to a certain extent. We don't necessarily know what went down, but I just wanted you guys, to kind of analyze it from a gender role and gender stereotypes perspective. Okay. And then it says, in a way, she had more power over August. I wouldn't be too sure about that because, like I said, I don't know exactly what went down, but um, I just wanted you guys to see the difference. Okay, the different backlash that they received being a man and a woman. Okay, so it's a form of emotional manipulation. Yes, so when we talked about the types of abuse, we did discuss emotional abuse and manipulation. So like with Wilf and Jada, we don't necessarily know how it went down, but let's say this was a regular couple, like any regular couple, not a famous couple, right? And this happens, and where the girl decides to do her own thing, and let's say finds herself in a relationship with another man, right? And let's say they do end up getting back together, then what happens there? They can use that cheating for manipulating. So like how Daniela saying, it's a form of emotional support, emotional manipulation, because they can ultimately use what those events that happen in that break in order for them to have more control over the other person, right? So yeah, that definitely does. That's yes. But the men are upset because they feel betrayed, and then the men feel betrayed, and then where do these beliefs derive from, though? Where do they derive from? Them feeling betrayed, right? Even though it didn't necessarily happen to them, I feel like it's just the lack of communication and the lack of compromise and the lack of miscommunication that happens in relationships that later on tend to turn into abusive patterns. um, and then how Aaliyah used the word betrayed. Yes, um, coming from like a man in a relationship, using that word betrayed, um, coming talking about like gender roles, right? Like let's, think about how a girl is supposed to be in a relationship. Loyal, right? There, she's not allowed to do her own thing. She kind of loses herself of autonomy. um so yes, women can oftentimes do what they want, but then men have control what they say, or who not to hang out with. Yes, definitely. um the polls show the violence that can be found in gender roles. Yes, definitely. um so yeah. um yeah, okay, perfect. They throw other saying using the clap face. Yeah, so at the end of the day, like I said, it all deals with, communication. We're looking at their relationship because they're a famous couple, but I'm saying, if we look back to like a regular couple, this could be a way of engaging in a healthy relationship, because yes, emotional abuse, all of the types of abuse can be used, um, when they don't talk about like their problems. Okay. All right. And then we are actually in the last terms of our presentation. So the last thing that I want to ask you guys is warning signs. Let's go ahead and talk about some warning signs. So besides the ones that I already have on here, and then we are going to be talking a little bit, let me see, we have a little bit of time. We are going to be talking about a little bit more in depth into each one. But besides the ones that I have on here, do you guys have any other warning signs that you guys can bring up? Acting different around other people. Okay. Using their insecurities to make assumptions. Okay, yes. So what are some warning signs? What are some warning signs? If you guys, we are gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be talking about this, but if you guys see any other warning signs that are not on there, feel free to put them on the chat. Okay, so lying, not letting the other person hang out with friends, and that falls under controlling behavior. Yes, Ariana. Lying. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the first one, jealousy. So jealousy tends to be one of the main ones that comes up when we're discussing warning signs. And what do you guys think jealousy could be a warning sign? Okay. So jealousy is actually a very total normal human emotion. The only reason why it's considered a warning sign is because how you act upon your jealousy. Okay, so yes, so jealousy can derive from lack of trust of their partner. Yes, Katie. It signifies ownership of the partner. So yes, again, it's totally normal to feel jealous, like in a relationship. And not just in a relationship, we feel jealous sometimes over different things, like about your sister owning the coolest thing and you're not. But what matters here is what you do with those feelings of jealousy. And you guys are already bringing up examples of um, the negative results of jealousy. So ownership over the partner. So because the abusive partner is extremely jealous, um, they start to kind of want to control the owner partner, so kind of claiming the ownership for the partner. So yes, can jealousy lead to controlling behaviors? Yes, Amani, yes, it can, definitely can. With already and then they use that jealous behavior to rationalize their abusive behavior. Okay, so let's get into that. When a person is jealous, yes, okay, it happens, right? But when we're talking about unhealthy or an abusive relationship, it can definitely turn in controlling behavior because they can use their jealousy to rationalize their controlling behavior. So like for instance, they would be like, you can't see this person because I don't like it, I'm jealous, right? So that already, it's a very, very, very red flag, because that already, it's kind of cutting off a little bit of your autonomy, of your independence, of you not being able to decide who you can see and who you cannot see, only because you feel, or your partner expressed that he feels jealous, that he or she or whoever it is feels jealous, right? So it can definitely lead to controlling behaviors. Being clingy makes your significant other want to talk to you more. So yes, definitely being jealous, can lead to controlling behavior, not wanting you to talk to somebody else. It can also lead to aggressive behavior. Yes, 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 yes. Um, so yeah, so then controlling behavior, what does controlling behavior uh in a relationship or in a warning sign, what is controlling behavior? What does that mean? When we're talking about the red flags and controlling behavior, what can also mean? It can also be talking to someone else behind your back and not saying anything to feel sad. Yes. Okay. So yes, Lyron, not letting you go out is a form of controlling behavior. Perfect. Telling you what to wear. Yes, yes, yes. Telling you what to wear, telling you what not to wear, telling you who to hang out with, telling you where to go, where not to go. Yes, yes. Throwing your clothes away because it shows too much. Yes, Lyron. So this is when, and usually, you get to, when starting a relationship, you kind of already get to start seeing it at the beginning, and sometimes unfortunately not. But once you start seeing this, yes, controlling and not letting you wear whatever you want, it's already a warning sign. So you gotta watch out for those. Making you get rid of your friends that you already have. Yes, Amani, that one actually ties back to isolation, and we're going to be discussing a little bit more why isolation is a red flag. Telling you what to do, not to be looking at other guys. Yes, yes, that's a very, very, very big one. So yeah, definitely controlling who you can see, who you cannot see, um even physically, right? Like let's say somebody goes out to the store and they're pretty handsome guy or girl comes in, and right away the abusive partner is right away on their, oh no, you cannot look at them. So that's already, yes, form of controlling behavior. Perfect. Yes. Saying that you cannot go to places or do things without them is a very big one. Yes, yes, that's a main one. So they always want to be there with you, right? And then that one can also lead to another warning sign that I have on here, which is quick involvement. So being, kind of like demonstrating that obsessive behavior over you, like saying I love you right away, or always be wanting to be right there with you. So that could also be another warning sign. Yes. Making you delete female friends. Yes, 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 especially right now that we are all active on social media. That is definitely a red flag of controlling behavior, telling you who and who not to, even liking the pictures. That can already tell you a little bit whether the person is going to be abusive or not. So yes. And then let's see, Constantly accusing you of cheating. Yeah, and that one I want to say it can lead on to blaming. You know, most of the times people um, do not want to take accountability. So that's another one. Um, they do not want to take accountability for their actions. So maybe the person who is the abuser is the one actually cheating, and that is the reason why they're accusing the victim of cheating, because they don't want to take accountability, and they use obviously victim blaming so that they can get away with the abuse. Okay. Now the number 3, quick involvement. What do you guys think this one means? Quick involvement. And this is actually, I wanted to point out this one, especially with the youth. This one is a very big red flag because it ultimately leads to an abusive relationship, because sometimes with teens, and um, most teens do not have those actual conversations with people, either their parents or family members, of what an unhealthy relationship can be. So quick involvement will be like saying I love you fast, and you're not feeling it right away. It can also lead, how I said, like to kind of like an abusive, how somebody mentioned, they want to go with you everywhere. That can also be connected to quick involvement. Um, rapid escalation of physical intimacy. Yes, Daniela, that is actually a very big one, because I know that you guys are going to be talking about consent in the near future, but um, using manipulation, using threats, or especially manipulation when it comes to quick involvement, I feel like that's a very big one, to kind of persuade you into having physical intimacy. Yes, yes. Jumping into a relationship without getting to know each other. Yes, and unfortunately, sometimes one's insecurities play a role in that, which can definitely lead to an unhealthy and abusive relationship. Okay, and then so quick attachment. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, sometimes people, they fall in love at first sight. You never know. I'm not saying that's totally wrong, but I'm just saying when you guys see keep a lookout when you guys see that um that you don't feel comfortable with it, or something is not right there, when you're like, when the other person says already I love you, but you're not there yet. That's when it's considered a warning sign. Now let's say you both are feeling it, both want to say I love you already, and you both feeling completely comfortable with it, then that is completely fine. But um yeah, just keep that in mind. And then telling your significant other that you like them, and they distance yourself, is feeling weird, is not saying back to you, hiding something what they don't say. Okay, yeah, this basically kind of like ties back to kind of like Amani's question. Okay, bye Abby, bye you guys. Thank you for joining. So actually, so yes, the other one is isolation, blaming. We already kind of talked about a little bit of isolation. Let's kind of like, I'm trying to go a little bit faster so we can wrap it up already. But isolation, blaming, yes. Let me see. Oh, so sorry. I'm just taking a look at your question. So let's see. What is the bisexual woman experience? More intimate partner than straight and lesbian? Why did they make you feel bad for not being ready to say I love you? Yes. Yeah, so that one, what if they make you feel bad about not being able to say ready when to say I love you? Yeah, you kind of say that that's already kind of like a warning sign, only because like I said, even the language that you use, when we were talking about verbal abuse, the way you say something, right? So that you already automatically can understand that the person or the abuser is trying to say like, oh, you're not doing this because you don't love me. That already you can already see like a red flag, which is controlling behavior, quick involvement, and yeah, actually those two. So if they make you feel bad for not being ready to say I love you, that one is it's definitely a red flag, because you should not at all feel bad or uncomfortable in any way when you want to express those emotions to your partner. Okay, and then blaming, we kind of already went a little bit. Hypersensitivity, it's basically well, before I jump into that one, we went to cruelty to animals or break throwing objects. That one, we thought of it as a warning sign, because like I said, they're kind of like sending you those signs that, okay, maybe I'm not doing it right now, but the next person that I hit is going to be you. Or cruelty to animals will be like using their intimidation, their threats, their physical aggression towards your pet, let's say for instance, because they know that you are going to be hurt with that, right? They'll treat the waiters, just to add to the warning sign there. Yeah, so definitely feel free to add any other warning signs that you guys don't see on here. Okay, so now the hypersensitivity. What do you guys think about that one? What do you guys think that one is?
Hey, Karen, I just wanted to answer the bisexual women question. I don't know if you did that already. But first, I want to say that we are going to be having an LGBTQ presentation next week. So we're going to be hearing all about how extra impact that community. But I also just want to say, like, again, it all comes from stereotypes, right? So like bi women are often viewed as hypersexual, right? Like they're like, the idea that they're attracted to both men and women implies that they're attracted to everybody, right? And they're down to fuck whoever, right? Like that's kind of the stereotype. So they experience higher levels of sexual violence, especially compared to heterosexual women, because they're seen as hypersexual, right? And then that makes people feel like they have the right to touch them without their consent, right? And all these things. But we're going to be having a whole training next week on the LGBT community, so I'm really excited for y'all to tune in. It's going to be fun. Yay. Okay.
Thanks, Anna, for answering that. So let's see, where was I at? Okay, so we did talk about the cruelty to animal throwing objects. Now the hypersensitivity just basically means being triggered by any little thing and then taking it all on maybe you, or it can also lead to your animals or throwing objects. So this one is definitely a warning sign, because you can kind of already see if they're gonna have the tendencies for abusive or abusive behaviors. So yeah. Any other warning signs that you guys might want to bring up? We have the last 10 minutes. And if not, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me. And if you guys have any other questions, I'm sure we can answer it now within the last 10 minutes. And if not, thank you so much. You guys are more than welcome to leave the Zoom call already if you.
Also, reminder that parent orientation is today at 2:30. So if you have a parent who's available and wants to tune in, please tune in this afternoon at 2:30. Did I say 12:30? 2:30.
2:30.
Parent orientation. All right, love y'all.
Okay. Is there a separate Zoom for parents? And also are you going to be using the same link that you send out, Hannah, for the parent?
Yeah, you all got in your email.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the same link. It's not a separate Zoom
Yeah.
link. Okay. So the parent orientation, it's basically like to talk to your parents about what the program consists of and to answer any questions that they might have, to kind of see where they're at, or how they feel about you guys participating in it. So yeah, is it mandatory? It's not mandatory, but it'll be great to have, you know, your parents there so that they can be a little bit more informed.
Yeah, we just want to, I know some parents have had some questions about stuff, so if they want to tune in and have some questions answered, I'll be there as well as Melody, our director, and there'll be Spanish translation available, so that's available too.
Yes, yes. So there is going to be, yes. Does somebody ask that? I talk together. They won't be able to come, or the parents are working. So unfortunately, this is the only one they're gonna have so far, right, Hannah? And then after, I don't know if you guys are mentioning to have another time, or is this the only one that they're gonna have?
If y'all really want one, just let us know, right? Like, we're here to answer. There will be translation for parents. There'll be Spanish translation. If your parents, this is really, they don't have to attend, right? Like, we just know that some, sorry, I'm in my kitchen tidying up, so I hope there are any weird sounds. But yeah, it's just for them if they have any questions, right? And like, if your parents don't care and are like, whatever, we're glad you're involved in a program, good for you. But this is just for them, for parents that have any questions that they want to. But you can always give your parents our contact info, right? So if they have any questions, they can't attend parent orientation, but they have some questions they want answered, just give them Jocelyn or my email. We'll talk to them. It is for parents only, but we're happy for you to be there.
Okay, you guys. Well, thanks so much. It was nice chatting with you guys. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email us. It's basically our first name at Peace or Violence if you guys have any other questions. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye. It says on the calendar. Yeah, so at first it was originally for self-defense, but unfortunately that couldn't happen, so we turned it more into
yeah, our facilitator dropped out. We're super bummed. We're gonna try to schedule it for another time, but they dropped out. So people will let you down. Sorry, I'm still doing my dishes. Okay. Any other questions?
any other, let's see, it says something. All right.
Bye, y'all. I'm gonna end the meeting. You know, you always have our info. We love y'all. See you later.